Well, welcome to the show.
This is our view from the bench.
Well, welcome to the show. I'm Brendan, the bell ringer for the local spelling bee.
And I'm Corey, the backup kick holder, and happy Friday.
Happy Friday, man. Made it through the week.
Another one has survived. How was your week, dude?
Chill. Today was pretty busy. Got a lot of stuff done. Went swimming, did some weights and stuff. So feeling good, man. Feeling good. You had a couple days off because you worked this weekend, right?
Yeah, I was actually off Tuesday and Thursday this week because I
Nice.
have to
How
work
was that?
tomorrow. It was good. I got a few things done. Laundry, oil change, adulting when you're not working on the fun days.
Gym tan laundry. Got you.
Yeah, the good stuff. But yeah, now got to work this weekend. We're doing a number change event on Sunday. So there's some players doing like some meet and greet stuff. So yeah, so I'll be doing that this weekend. But this week is officially over, and we are back to recapping some football.
That's right. Our favorite thing. Well, my favorite thing. We've got already one game of week 2 down. We had the Thursday night game already happen. It was between the Eagles and the Vikings. It's actually a close game, even though most times it seems that Kirk Cousins isn't great in prime time. He was actually fabulous yesterday, and the Vikings lost by, well, one score again.
Yeah, we talked about that when the season started. When we did our season preview, you talked about how last year they were, I think it was 11 and something in 1 point game, something like
11 and 1. 11 and
Okay,
1.
I knew it was insane. So now they're already 0 and 2 in one-score games in the first 6 weeks of the season. So the balance has already started to swing back the other direction. As a person who picked the Vikings to win the division, this is not a good start. This is definitely not what I was looking for.
No, it's Kirk is actually 11 and 19 now in prime time. Not all with the Vikings, but yeah, not the start either of them were looking for. But like I said, he actually did good, so I guess statistically it's a good start. If you look at the stat line as a passer, 31 of 44, 364 yards and 4 touchdowns, no picks. But 4 people fumbled and lost all of them, including Kirk himself and Justin Jefferson. That's no way to win a football game. And you could see 4 turnovers to 1, and they only lost by 6.
Yeah, true. That's a very good point. I didn't think about. Yeah, the turnover battle is huge in this game. They obviously did not take care of the ball, but it wasn't like you said. It wasn't like Cousins was the one throwing picks all over the place, which he normally would do in these big primetime games. So him as an individual played well, but them as a team did not. And ultimately, like the short turnaround going into a Thursday, the first week or the second week of the season, also is probably hard. But if you're Minnesota, you got stunned and beat by Tampa Bay at home last week.
That was the bad one.
Yeah, now you go on the road and you don't win either. Now you're 0-2 after the first 5 days of the season because you played 2 games in 5 days.
Yeah,
that is not the start that you're looking for. Which again, it's very early. There's still 15 more games for them to play, but you got to start thinking, what if they are like really bad after the first 5 or 6 games? Do you think they have to think about moving Cousins?
Well, if they do, I know there's going to be plenty of suitors. But I wonder if they're doing bad. I understand that, coach, quarterback, like there's tiers of responsibility. But like, let's just say he replicates and they keep losing, or he gets close to replicating. Maybe he's not perfect and throws for 1 interception or something like that in a game or 2. Like when you look at the stat line, there's 0, almost 0. He did lose a fumble. I didn't see it. I started watching about the second quarter, and I was watching intermittently, so I didn't see how he fumbled. I don't know. I know he got sacked twice. I don't know if it was on that or something else, but 1 fumble. I mean, no picks. Like you can't blame everything on him just to trade him. I understand that's maybe where they would go, but I don't know, dude. Like I guess they'd have to see who led to such a downfall. If he did play a big role, okay. But if he's sitting here doing stuff like this, man, I don't know. I think you put it in the air. I think you get a big return, I guess.
The question has to be at least asked because he's going to be a free agent at the end of the season too. So if they get off to a rough start and they don't know if they're going to be able to keep him, you have to think about maybe getting rid of him to get something.
Okay, I see why you're saying that. I didn't realize his contract was up at the end of the year. So, yeah, I mean, I guess. I mean, ask him. I mean, does he want to resign? Do they want? You know what I'm saying? Like, not ask him. Like, what do you would think we should do? I mean, in the sense of like, do they have do they want him back?
Yeah.
If it's not his fault. Like, let's pretend he has similar stat lines to this and it's not his fault. Do they want him back? Because I would feel like this is not on him. I wouldn't be able to blame it on him. Again, I didn't watch the entirety of the game. And if he does want to come back, I guess maybe stick it out. But to your point, there's going to be teams that want him because I mean, there's a team in New York that just lost a quarterback to an Achilles injury that would probably give up a lot to get him because I think as much as I don't think he's nowhere near as good as Aaron Rodgers, obviously, but he's a very, very serviceable quarterback in the NFL and better than Zach Wilson is currently. Maybe not what Zach Wilson will ever be, but better than he is currently. You think?
Yeah, for sure. And that's why I'm asking. Like, it's now, okay, because the Rams got off to a 1-0 start. So now the discussion is, oh, maybe they have a chance. Maybe they won't be traders at the deadline. But now Minnesota's 0-2. So maybe the story changes to them that maybe they'll have to be sellers and thinking about something more long term or thinking about options to open up the option to have more options down the road, I should say, with Jefferson there and now Addison Reed as the wide receivers, but more like thinking more like quarterback down the line. What are we going to do?
Yeah. By the way, how the heck do they do that? How do you have Chris Carter and Randy Moss? And then just like maybe one generation goes by. And then you get Justin Jefferson and what seems to be like a really good start to Jordan Addison. Jeez, good job. We give the Steelers a lot of props for drafting wide receivers. I'm going to give a little bit to the Vikings there because talent. I mean, it's hard to miss on Justin Jefferson. That dude was insane. But still.
Yeah.
Give him a little bit of props.
More.
Yeah. Moving on though from football, we're going to break it up a little bit, getting into some basketball news because there was actually some new stuff that kind of came by recently. Some rule changes that were passed this past week for the NBA. Do you want to start running a couple of them down, or at least maybe give me your thoughts first?
Yeah. So the basic concept of this rule change or this thing that they're doing is trying to get players to, one, play more games, and two, not sit out multiple games or at least road games, especially where fans pay to go see these guys play and then they're sitting on the bench. And like, I know the case that always comes up last year is I believe the Warriors went to New Orleans twice on the road, both on the second night of a back to back. So they didn't play Clay, Steph, or Draymond in either of those two games, but it wasn't against New Orleans. It was a second night of a back to back, and Steve and them are trying to make those guys last a whole season. So it was more of just a bad scheduling court for them. But ultimately, that's what the NBA is trying to avoid. Is especially the big one is they're trying to avoid it on the national broadcast games where it's ESPN, TNT, where everyone in the country is watching, and then they see multiple players not playing again and resting.
Yeah, it's a big problem, man. Honestly, I liked that players would play all the time. Michael played 82 games like for most of his career. I know Kobe played as much as he could unless injuries were holding him back. So I do believe that it should be out there. I know we're all afraid of the injury bug, but what happened then? We had less trainers, we had less science, less all that stuff, recovery methods, and they were getting hurt. Seems like less. It was also more physical. People are like literally punching people, and now everybody just gets hurt because of everything. It's just, I don't know. I say get back on the court, and I like that the NBA did something about it. So
yeah, they're ultimately they're at least trying to do something.
Yeah, the first rule that is on is the no more than one star player is unavailable for the same game. So if you have 2 stars on your team, you can't sit both in the same game. There's an exception, but as an example, well, let's just use the regular example. The Clippers wouldn't be able to sit both Paul George and Kawhi Leonard in the same game. They would need to alternate sitting so that one of them is at least playing for the fans that show up. What you got for rule number 2?
The second part is they have to ensure that even if those players that the players have to be available for the national TV and the in-season tournament games, because obviously this new in-season tournament is a big ordeal. There's a lot of money behind it, I'm sure. So they want to make sure that everyone is available for those games. And I think that the schedule, the way they placed it within those first couple of weeks, that everyone's going to be prepared ahead of time to know when those games are, when they matter, when they count. So I think it'll be no big issue to try to get figured out the first batch.
To like plan for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Okay, cool. Agreed. I think that's coming out now. It gives teams, to your point, time to plan.
Yeah,
and try to map out their season with the alternates like that. So third rule: teams must maintain a balance between the number of one-game absences for a star player in home games and road games, with the preference, obviously, for the absences to happen in home games because the home fans will have more of an opportunity to see them. I actually like this one too, man, because there's not a lot of times that Giannis is coming to town. So if I buy tickets for the Bucks game and that's on a back-to-back and Giannis is sitting, that sucks for me. I mean, I'm not. It's mostly for the kids, in my opinion, but also for the paying fans and like us.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the whole point. They want, if you have 41 home games, then the fans that live local there have 41 opportunities to see you possibly play. If you sit out of 5 or 6 of those home games throughout the season, that's still over 30 games they could possibly see you in person.
Mm-hmm.
But, the Bucks only come to LA once, well, twice to see both LA teams, but they only
But
play the
I don't
Lakers
want to
one
watch them play
time
them.
in LA. They only play in LA one time. They only play in Golden State one time. So those games where they're only here one opportunity for the whole season, we want those to be the opportunities for more fans to see you besides just your home base.
Agreed. Exactly. Side note, it used to be a nice way actually for LA basketball fans to watch other teams come at a discounted rate is to get to go watch them play the club. But that's not the case anymore. They built a decent team and now they like charge a bunch of money and stuff. So
Well, that and they're about to be in a new stadium, so that's going to
yeah, they need
definitely
that
be out the
money.
window.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Moving on, there's two more rules basically that are in it. Teams must refrain from any long term shutdown or near shutdown when a star player stops participating in games or plays in a materially reduced role in the circumstances affecting the integrity of the game. An example, long winded, is like Luka at the end of the year. The Mavericks technically had an opportunity to make the playoffs. However, if they make the playoffs, they lose their pick in the lottery. If they miss it, they keep it. So, because Mark Cuban's not an idiot and he understands that even if they get in the play-in tournament as a 10 seed, most likely nothing's happening. Let's
Yeah,
take a top 14 pick instead of falling out of it. It might have even been that they needed to be in the lottery to keep their pick for a trade,
yes.
possibly. I think that's what it
That was
was,
the
right?
case. It was the Jalen Brunson deal, I believe, when he signed. The part of that whole thing was if he went there, they would get a draft pick if at a certain level or whatever. But they swapped picks, I think is what it was. But since theirs ended
Hmm.
up in the lottery, it was protected and they were able to keep it, so they didn't have to lose it.
Gotcha. So I understand that too. I also understand why Mark Cuban did it, and I think he
Oh,
only paid a
absolutely.
money fine, like a fine. So to him, basically, it's just a cost of doing business.
Yep, absolutely. And the last part of this rule is that even if the players that are healthy are resting in a sense for the game, they need to be present and visible out to the fans. So they need to be sitting on the bench, not up in the suite, not in the
Like
locker room.
Kawhi.
Unless, well, yeah, unless they're absolutely needing to get treatment, it's a really bad injury. But if they're just resting, they need to
Oh
be out
yeah,
on the
no,
bench and
right.
visible, and do some autographs, walking up and down before you get down into the tunnel, but at least be visible to the world.
Yeah, I agree. I think that overall this is actually like a really good thing for the league. I think that I wish that they did take some time to look at the schedule more, because you and I were talking before this. We believe that it'd be beneficial, well, for sure for the players, but also for like probably the quality of the games played. If they took it back maybe like 10 games, it doesn't have to be
Yeah,
a lot, but take it back like 10 games. But the way that they see it, and I guess have mathematically calculated it out, is that they need those 10 games for the revenue that those 10 games generate, which obviously goes towards player salaries. We saw a stat that 45%, nearly 45% of the salary cap is based on how much is projected to bring in from basketball related income. So I guess it benefits everybody all around to keep it. But I still think that they're just kind of tweaking rules in order to avoid losing money.
yeah, absolutely. And I think like it's just when you think about it, like we talked about, if they cut it back 10 games, that would be great. But the money is such affected at that point that it screws everything up. And just think too, they're going to also possibly expand to 2 more cities in a couple of years. So
True.
adding 2 more teams into this rotation of a schedule and trying to jam it all in is only going to make
Into
it more
72.
complicated.
Yeah, okay.
So, I mean, maybe going backwards at some point, but the part of the problem is nobody's going to ever agree to that on both sides completely because the contracts that are already agreed upon between players and teams would have to be configured, and those
Yeah,
guys
like
and
altered in some way.
those players are never going to want to give up money just because the league is
There's
reconfigured.
less games. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that's a very good point. There are a couple extra side notes to these rule changes. For the YouTube audience, you saw if you're listening on Spotify, check us out on YouTube. Just search "Our View from the Bench." That way you can kind of see some of those visuals that we're showing you. You don't have to look it up yourself. But there's a couple more rules here, kind of for it. We got a little bit of information about the fines that are noted and kind of like what the definition of a star and who they consider to be in this area with 2 stars. So the violation, the new rules, teams would be fined $100,000 for the first violation, $250,000 for the second, and $1 million more than the previous penalty for each additional violation. So the more they continue, it's starting to just be mill on mill on mill. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Don't do it. And looking at the rule, the way they define like who a star is the fact that they had to have made an all-star team or an all NBA team in any of the last 3 seasons that they played in. So obviously there's going to be teams that have multiple stars that are going to be included, but one of the weird things about those rules that we talked about earlier was that there's like exemptions for if you're over a certain age or played so many minutes. So of course, LeBron falls into that category. So the Lakers,
everyone's gonna hate that dude.
I know they're gonna just be so. Oh, it's a rule for LeBron.
You guys just made it for LeBron James. He gets everything. Like, bro,
dude, he's breaking
played
the rules
a lot.
of the sport. He's breaking the rules of age and this way the game is played. Okay, like let's just give him a break. So
thank you.
Him and AD technically are both stars, but because LeBron is exempt from this rule, the Lakers could bench or not play LeBron and AD in the same games. Now, I don't think they'll do that. I think ultimately LeBron, like we talked about earlier, wants to play in as many games as possible. So I think they'll stagger AD and him if they have to, but I don't think very rarely unless they're both hurt for some reason, will they both be out at the same game. I would think they're going to alternate. We talked about back-to-backs. The Lakers have 15, so if they're not going to let AD play in back-to-backs, he's going to miss 15 games right there. So maybe LeBron misses the other 15 on the first half part of the back-to-back, or vice versa, depending on who the opponents are.
Yeah, or we actually are exempt, so who cares? Why don't we just sit them whenever we freaking want?
That's a good point.
But anyway, so teams, I think there's half the league. 15 teams have either somebody like who has made the All-Star or an All-NBA team in the previous 3 seasons. The Celtics, Sixers, Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, Suns, Kings, Grizzlies, Bulls, Cavs, Bucks, Hawks, Heat, Timberwolves, and Mavericks. So yes, 15, half the league. And for those who follow basketball, you probably know who those are. What we will do, though, actually, I'll do something. I'll post on our Instagram breaking down what each of those teams, who those team stars are, and things like that. So go check us out there as well. But I mean, obviously, we kind of are in it, but we're out of it. What do you think about all this?
I mean, like we talked about, I think ultimately it's a good thing. The league is trying to get these people to like actually be on the court and be, present and not just take it like this. The rest management has been out of control. I know Pop started it back in the day with good intentions, and ultimately it would work because they would make the playoffs and then win in the playoffs. But a lot of these guys and these teams that do it, especially the Clippers, who are like the worst team at it, don't ultimately show up or do anything in the playoffs. And I know there's already been clips of Ty Lue talking this season about how next year, I've already told Paul and Kawhi, like, we got to go into this season differently and think about the regular season for real. We can't just be like, oh, well, play whenever we want. And
just be like a 4 or 5 seed, and then we'll just make a deep run. Like, it's not that easy, dude, especially in the West. Especially in the West, it's not that easy.
It's out of control.
It's lit, so you can't just skate through the first part. So, yeah, I think it'll be good. We have some new additions. We as in the Lakers, and by new I mean new long-term additions.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I meant. Jared Vanderbilt getting his cash, man.
Getting paid. Hey, it's a good deal. I think for all parties involved, I think the Lakers get a good deal for. I mean, it doesn't kick in for a year, so I think he's still getting his $5 million this year, or whatever it is. But if something for some reason doesn't work out, or you need to move him, it's an easy contract to move. It's not an out of control number. He gets some security finally after his rookie deal, getting some real money. And if he can stay here long enough and actually work with Phil Handy on his handles and his shooting, especially his corner threes, which if he can hit a corner three at 30 to 35% compared to what he's hitting now,
which
he's
is
gonna.
like
And then I think
20.
ultimately, if that's the case, then this contract maybe is even a steal for the Lakers in the long term.
Okay, and you and I talked about it before, and I am not as high on it as you. I'm as high on Vanderbilt, but I'm not as high on this unless he does develop that little bit of offensive game. He just needs to be not left wide open. That's all. You know what I'm saying? Like that's pretty much all. If he can just be, if he can improve the offensive end, I think this is a steal. And I agree with you. For $12 million a year, it's not much for a great defender at a young age, who's a great like team guy. Seems like a lot of people like Vandit, which
Yeah,
is like I don't know. He seems like a nice guy. Why wouldn't you like him? So yeah, I agree. As long as my small caveat, little asterisk is let's get that offense up to be at least where they're not like go ahead.
yeah, yeah.
No, we needed a little better than that. So if he could do that, I'm on.
And with the team he's on now with the Lakers, they're so deep this year. There's not going to be as much pressure on him or expectations of him to go out there and do that all the time. So, like, I wouldn't even be shocked if he's on more of the second, even third team for the beginning of the season until they kind of get their flow together and figure out what they're
Hmm.
doing. But with his defense, if he keeps playing hard, Ham's all about defense and getting
You
stops. So,
can't,
worst case, he's going
yes.
to be on the second squad.
And I will give it to him. I cannot, that's exactly, and that what keeps him his job because he's really good at it. And we need it. Defense is
Yeah.
key. Even though you can barely play defense anymore, it's still important. So,
Yeah, for real.
'cause we couldn't outscore Denver. So we're going to have to start defending them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know how necessarily Vanderbilt's going to stop Jokic, but we'll figure that out when we get there.
Come on. He could do it. He could do it. We have to triple
team,
team him.
team,
Honestly, dude, he
team,
has to. Yeah, because he's so
team
freaking good.
defense.
Team defense, honestly, 100%. Couple more additions to some new teams, not to ours, but to other teams. Well, one's kind of returning. You kind of reminded me. Boban heading back to Houston on a vet minimum. You were what you go ahead. Tell us your thoughts on this one.
Well, I think it's just good because there's a bunch of knuckleheads that are a young team in Houston. There's nobody in that
Hey,
locker room that's keeping them straight. Even I think Danny was it Danny Green that was there for like a short period of time or somewhere where he said there was a lot of young kids, or maybe it was Memphis he was talking about.
yes,
But still, this is
Memphis.
kind of, if you think about it, kind of similar to that situation now with the KPJ situation that's going on off the court. But there's a bunch of kids there in Houston, and they need somebody to just kind of keep them guided in the right direction. And Boban is everybody loves Boban everywhere he's been. He's been like the team locker room guy. He keeps everything light and everybody on their like on a good vibe. So I think that it's just a nice veteran presence in the locker room at this point.
I can see that. My first reaction when you told me was like, cool. Cool. He's probably not going to play much. When he does, it'll be garbage time. But I hear your point. I hear what you're doing. But does he do those things? I don't know. I haven't ever heard like, oh man, I never heard anything bad about him. And I love his commercials with the goldfish and Tobias Harris with that little thing that he had with Harris. But I don't really know. I seem to like the guy. He seems kind of cool. He was in John Wick, so that's cool.
Yep.
But yeah, I'm just curious to see like, is he that vocal? Because he's a foreign player. He speaks English, obviously, but like, how well is he relating to these guys? I'm hoping that he is that person, and I think it's awesome. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing, and it's kind of the similar signing as the other one that we're going to talk about, which is another big man too, which is JaVale McGee signing the vet minimum to go to Sacramento. Which Mike Brown is the coach. Mike Brown was in Golden State. Not necessarily at the same time that McGee was, but knows the system that they're trying to run in Sacramento. So I think it's, again, a veteran presence that makes sense, but he's going to have definitely more playing time than Boban in Houston.
Yes.
But, I mean, it's also going to be a big thing for Sabonis because Sabonis looked so bad in the playoffs last year.
Thank you. So when I first heard this one, this is the one I liked. I think this is a completely underrated signing. I think this is exactly what Sacramento needs because they looked out of place against Golden State, and Golden State just has Looney. Can you imagine if they're trying to get past anybody a little bit deeper than that,
Right.
like the Jokic's or Anthony Davis? Anthony Davis handled Kevon Looney, and Kevon Looney handled DeMontis Sabonis. So okay, maybe not handled. But Sabonis did not look good to me in that thing, and I think he's a little bit overrated in my opinion. I think he's living off a little bit of the name. He's extremely talented. Let me not twist my words. I do not think he's not good at basketball. I just think people give him a little bit more hype than I think he deserves as of now. Maybe he's stuck in Sacramento. Maybe that's why I don't know, but I don't know. But I do think that he is stoked. But yeah, I think he's the guy that gets them the rebounding and some defense, and
Yeah, hopefully ultimately teaches Sabonis to play a little bit of defense because Sabonis plays 0 now. So if he can play 2%, that would be an improvement. But I think just maybe even more of a team defensive scheme and knowing where to be and how to help out the other guys would be more of a beneficial thing. And McGee, obviously, he's played in multiple title teams, knows what he's doing at this point in his career, and is more of just. I guess he's kind of like Dwight Howard was the first time when he was with the Lakers, well, second time with the Lakers when they won the title, is where he's still good and he can still contribute, but he's ultimately not going to have to play a lot of minutes, and there's not going to be a lot of expectations of him chipping in way beyond his like normal, just a couple points, couple rebounds, your energy, get them going, feeling good early, especially if you're starting off on the team, and then keep the bench light and keep everybody like involved and rooting and paying attention essentially.
Yeah, I'm sure he wouldn't have any problem with it. They were teammates and probably friends and stuff. But Dwight Howard's way better than JaVale McGee.
Oh yeah, his ultimate career, yes. But I'm talking about in that place and time. If you look at the 1920
okay. I mean,
season,
same role, sure.
Yeah,
I get what you're saying with that. But other than that,
I
just want to be clear.
Yeah,
Dwight Howard.
JaVale McGee is better than Dwight Howard in his career. That is definitely not what I said.
Okay. Keeping it with basketball though, we found something fun. You found something fun actually. Sent it to me. It was an interview where Steve Ballmer is with Paul George on whose show is that?
It's on Paul George. I think it's Pod Show P or Podcast P Show. I think is what it's called.
It's his show. Oh, okay.
And he had Ballmer on, and they were talking about just different things. And one of the questions they asked was about like your first game as the owner, and he said that Ballmer was talking about how he got really excited, and then at the end of the game, Doc was telling him like, you might want to calm down, man. He's got 82 games, 41 home games alone. Like maybe take it a little easy. And then there's this clip right here we're going to show you here in a second where Paul George does an impression of Doc Rivers, and man, he's pretty good at these things.
He's pretty good. Let's check it out.
I want to know like how P asked you about your first time having a team, any learning moments you had when you first started.
Yeah, I'll tell you one. So our first game was against OKC. I'm going crazy. Doc talks to me after the game. He says, you might want to save a little wear and tear on your vocal cords and your body. It's like, oh, okay, Doc.
Otherwise, you'll talk like me.
Here we go. That's two good impersonations. I like the other one you did with Charles Barkley, too.
Steve, you'll sound like me if I don't know.
Dude, I'm telling you, I don't know which one I like better, that one or his Charles Barkley, because his Charles Barkley is pretty good, too.
I personally like the Charles Barkley one better. It's hard because, okay, maybe, you know what? Maybe I need to hear a little bit more of it. He only said like a couple lines there. I'd like to hear a little bit more, maybe not as jokingly, because he was kind of already laughing when Steve Ballmer was telling the story. So, but as of now, I'm going to take his Charles Barkley impression because that was spot on.
Yeah, I agree. The Charles Barkley one is so good. But and then at the end of the day, like when not only is he doing the podcast doing well, but do we ultimately get to see like Paul George retire and have just a bunch of impersonations he does of different players and referees or coaches and does like his own comedy show?
Maybe he already has the platform for it with his podcast.
Right?
So, I mean, it's not like people aren't going to tune in. He's a cool guy. Honestly, I have nothing against Paul George besides the fact that he plays for the Clippers.
Yeah, agreed.
You know what I mean? Like I was rooting for Paul George when he was in Indiana. I wasn't necessarily rooting for him, but I had nothing against him when he was playing with Russ and OKC. It's just his most current stop that I just obviously will not applaud. So
yeah, do your thing over there, man. Have yourself a time.
Yeah, I know you grew up a Laker fan. Don't you try to freaking lie.
No,
ain't nobody growing up around here. Okay, maybe Lauren. Shout out to Lauren. She grew up a Clipper fan, but other than that, there's very few. Very few. Switching it back to my favorite. We can only talk about the NBA so much until it's NBA season. You know what I mean?
It's hard to talk about it when they're not playing games yet.
Yeah, so let's get back to something that is, a little bit sad. I kind of feel bad. Not a Jets fan, but I do feel bad for everything that kind of happened with Rodgers. He posted this on the left side of his Instagram the other day. He's basically just kind of thanking everybody who maybe called him or DM'd him, texted him, yada, yada, just kind of tried to reach out. But he just basically feels loved, which is crazy because most of the time has something sarcastic to say. But one of the crazy things that he said, because a lot of people were wondering, is this it or is this not? Now, I'm not saying, obviously this just happened, so he feels like gung-ho about it. But at the end, he says, The night is darkest before the dawn, and I shall rise yet again. So I don't know if that's figuratively or literally on the football field. What do you think he means?
Yeah, I think that's him saying he's going to basically give it his all to try to come back next year. There's no guarantee yet. Obviously, at 39 years old and trying to come back from an Achilles. I know. I think they were talking about Dan Marino or somebody back in the day that was after 30 and had their Achilles and then was just never the same after that. I heard Vinny Testaverde talk about it when he had his injury for the Jets, also back in 1999, where you don't come back the same. You can throw the ball, but thankfully it's not your drop back foot, so you still have the ability to throw, but the amount of ability you have to move around the pocket and stuff is not going to be the same. And he goes, and I was 35 when I had it. He's 39 going on 40. So
Yeah,
I think he's going to do all he can to come back. Hopefully he does, and I wish I want him to. I don't want him to go out like this is the worst way for him to go out.
Not even a Rodgers fan, but
no, I'm not either. I mean, he's whatever, but yeah, I don't want to see somebody that had this great of a career go out like that. That's not the way you want to see him go out. It's kind of similar to Kobe. Kobe tore his Achilles, and he played after that, but he was never the same. We all know he wasn't the same. So yeah. I just hope we don't get that's used to be Aaron Rodgers if he comes back next year, and it's just not the same.
I saw an interview with a doctor. I forgot his name, but there was something that he was saying where it's actually not as bad, apparently, as like an ACL this late in your career, and that it might be now. Granted, he could be full of shit, or he could be telling the truth. You know what I mean? I don't know, but I want to say he was on Pat McAfee's show, but if he wasn't, then I don't want to, give any sort of if this guy's not being truthful, I don't want to put that on Pat McAfee because I'm sure he just run a stand-up podcast, which is really good, by the way. Anybody who might want to watch it, but ours is better. But one of the quotes that I liked actually was, it's sad to hear, but it kind of just feels like how much Rodgers, I think, actually was kind of caring for this team and really wanted to like put his best foot forward. That sounds kind of bad to say, but there's a quote that as he was walking off the field, Garrett Wilson kind of heard him say, it really hurt my heart because he just told Garrett Wilson, sorry, kid. Yeah, like, my bad, man. I wanted to be there and try to see what we could do this year, and sometimes stuff happens.
Yeah, just sometimes not meant to be. It sucks too because obviously Aaron Rodgers is near the end and Wilson's just at the beginning of his great career, winning Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. So there's something to build on, and to have a quarterback now that's like a Hall of Famer, first ballot, and only get 4 snaps out of him, not really get an opportunity or chance. You got to catch the ball from him in preseason a couple weeks ago, but that didn't matter. And now to lose, it's just, I feel bad for the Jets to go on such a like build up of months of this Rodgers and Hard Knocks and everything else, and then 4 snaps into his career as a Jet and he tears his Achilles and it's out for the year. Just God.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's nuts. It's sad. Handoff, penalty, incompletion, season over. Didn't even make complete nothing. Had nothing. So, little cool part of the game that you found. There's a video that's attached to it, but after Garrett Wilson kind of builds up, honestly, besides the defense obviously holding them in it, Garrett Wilson did his job. He had a higher pass rating than like $400 million quarterbacks last year, or last week. So he didn't do too bad. But after he did that, I thought it was really cool. Got a little small screen. He said, "It's off your shoulders now, man. It's off of your shoulders. Okay, you did your job. It's on them." Just trying to get him to relax, man. RELAX, like Aaron would say. Because, dude, it's just, you could do this. He was the second pick for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. And the fact that it's Alan Lazard who played with Aaron in Green Bay, he's a veteran. He knows. He went to the young kid and look, man, you did your job and you got us to tie this game up. Now it's on them to go out and try to win this game or take it from us. And ultimately, Buffalo didn't do that. They went to overtime, and the Jets got to run that
crazy run.
They get the win.
Yeah. I actually saw when we were talking, when they were interviewing the guy after that punt, you and I mentioned it to you. I was like, I think I saw a video of that guy. He almost was recently like teetering on getting cut or not. They even recorded him on Hard Knocks coming in just kind of they were like, hey man, we appreciate everything that you've done. You've done a great job. Welcome to the New York Jets. Kind of like mini tricking him, thinking he was just about to get cut. And he had a really cool like way of going back. He's like, oh man, I thought I had a long 20-minute drive out in here. Yeah. So, but yeah, he was super stoked. And dude, I mean, how much better can your first? I don't know if this is his first team. I'm assuming it is. In your like first game in the NFL, and you have after everything bad that just happened, your team sticks in it, and then that's like, oh dude, what a memory for him, man. That's so cool.
I thought absolutely, cool. And just a crazy way to end the game, and just an emotional roller coaster for the Jets fans and everybody going through that game where you start off with so high, it goes down so low, and somehow Zach Wilson figures out a way to at least get them back in the game and get an opportunity for them to win. Ultimately, I think the Jets are going to be okay for at least a couple of weeks, but they got a real big test next week when they go and play the Cowboys.
Yeah, I'm debating on whether or not I should play Breece Hall. They look so good. I don't know if it was just the Giants were so bad or if they were so good, and that's why I'm nervous. Especially because they're going to obviously be playing the run. They're not going to be trying to test Aaron Rodgers out there. It's just Zach Wilson. So kind of nervous to play him, but I have a feeling they lose. I'm glad that they won last week because I have a feeling they roll into. It's at Dallas, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I have a feeling they roll down there, and I don't know if they lose 40-0. Obviously, their defense is a lot better, but I think I picked them. I guess that's a perfect segue. Then I think let's see how King of Spreads is, and we'll see if I did pick them for this upcoming week. We're going to start, however, with last week.
Woo!
I suck.
Week 1.
Boo! Week 1. Week 1 sucked. I was trash.
Man, I got 11 out of 16. That's pretty good to start. It's early. There's a lot of games, but we got a ways to go, man. This is 1 week. A lot of things can happen.
I know, but a 4-game lead. Is a big one. Honestly, I was sweating this 0% over the weekend because all I was paying attention to was my freaking anytime touchdown bet. I did not necessarily pay attention to this. I probably should do a little bit better this next time. So hopefully I do. We can see here 7. I had 7 games correctly. Unfortunately, Corey had 11. So I'm 4 behind. But we do have week 2 here. What did I pick? Yep, I picked Dallas covering the spread.
Yeah, well, that makes sense. So what is the spread at that point? 9.5?
9 is what it closed at. Okay. Closed at 9 flat, yeah.
All right, that's not bad. There's a
field goal and a touchdown. That's 10.
The Buffalo-Las Vegas game, I went back and forth on that one. That's a 9.5 spread. That's a big spread. It's at Buffalo, Vegas traveling.
That's why I took
there.
them.
But for some reason, I feel like Vegas's defense is decent, and and Buffalo did not play well. And even though they're at home at Buffalo and they were in New York, the Jets, so they didn't have to travel very far throughout the state of New York. But having the short week on Monday into Sunday, I don't know. I just got a bad feeling about it for Buffalo.
Yeah, we will see. We both have them. Oh, wait.
Yeah, I took them. I don't feel comfortable with it at all. I debated
man.
it back and forth.
I'm not going to get much ground this week, if any at all. I realize I only have one. Yeah, we picked them all. The only one I have is you picked the Jets to cover, and I didn't. Son of a... Dang it. Now I make up no ground. Well, hopefully I get that one right.
Again, it's a long way to go, man. It's a long way to go.
Maybe I should look at yours first and then just start picking opposites so I can try to catch up. No, I'm just kidding.
Well, it's only week 1, man. Calm down.
No, you're right. So yeah, I think the hardest one, or the most fun one for me, though, I actually just picked it right before this, is the Kansas City Jacksonville one because I just don't know I know Kansas City's good. Yeah. But I also have seen Jacksonville and Trevor Lawrence, and they look good too. So news was today, Andy Reid said that he's a go. He, as in Kelsey, is a go for Sunday. So we will see what that, I guess, has in store. But before we get too carried away, let's move on to the standings. As you can see, I suck.
Yeah, well, if you want to feel a little better, we can both add a loss yesterday because that one sucked for us as well. So
yeah, true.
So not a good first week for you because you're under 500. But again, it's only week 1. We got a long ways to go.
Yes, very true. So hopefully I can catch up some other time, but hopefully at least we all get a bunch right this time. I still want all the points. You know what I mean? I still want to guess them correctly. I think I'm gonna do a touchdown prop bet this week. You want to?
Oh, I'm
You want to try to build
open
one?
to discussion. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let's check it out. So yeah, King of Spreads, dig it. I actually like this one. I need to do a little bit better for me to like it a little bit more. But yeah, either way, I like it nonetheless.
Yeah, it gives us something to even though we have our fantasy football that we do with our players rosters wise, and then we have our each individual teams that we like to root for, and now we have another spread thing that keeps us a little more entertained and gives us some more some more stuff to talk about here on the show. But our basic thing is getting ready for week 2 of the NFL now that it's going to be Sunday, and we're going to get a full slate of games, and we have 2 Monday night games this week.
Yeah, which is cool because, like I said, Monday's the worst day of the week anyway. So
Yeah.
I'm good with 1 NFL football game, but this week we get 2 NFL football games. I don't like any of the teams that are in it, but I don't dislike any of the teams. Let's take a look at this slate for week 2. We're going to talk about 3 games, highlight them. We'll talk briefly about the Monday night ones. New Orleans at Carolina and Cleveland at Pittsburgh. That's probably going to be a good one, actually, because Cleveland looked better last week against Joe Burrow, and Pittsburgh got wiped by San Fran. So hopefully they're both trying to keep it moving, Pittsburgh's trying to flip it.
Yeah, I expect Tomlin and them to bounce back. They don't usually play that bad in a lot of games, let alone one.
No.
So I know it is Cleveland. Cleveland had a good game last week against Burrow and the Bengals, but this is a division game. These teams know each other really well, which always just makes these games that much more important and that much more difficult to plan for and really pick. So, New Orleans, Carolina is going to be a good one because at least it gets the number 1 pick, Bryce Young, on Monday Night Football for the first game. But by the time the Pittsburgh game starts, I'm swapping to that one for sure. I'm not sticking with the second game.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to pick the Monday night games and the 3 games that we're going to highlight. If you want to pick score, you can. I'm taking Saints 27-20.
Okay.
I'm taking Cleveland 20-17.
Okay. I will take it's at Carolina. I'm still going to take New Orleans too, but it's going to be really low scoring. It's going to be 18-14. And
okay.
Then,
Damn, just like last week when they won 16-15.
It's going to be weird. I'm telling you, it's going to be a weird season down there, no matter how they win. And then Cleveland at Pittsburgh. I feel like Pittsburgh's going to bounce back. I think Pittsburgh's going to win. It's going to be ugly, and they'll win 14-10.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Low score. That's why I picked like 20-17. I think it'd be close. Field goal separation. So okay, cool. The one other game that we wanted to highlight, like I was talking about a little bit in King of Spreads, is Jacksonville hosting Kansas City.
It's a big game, man.
Andy Reid confirmed Travis Kelce's back. Now, in what capacity? I don't know. He did have a funny video where he did that whole knee hop and then twerk. So he's obviously in good spirits. You think it's he's the difference maker he normally is this weekend?
He's going to have to be, because if they go down 0-2, and especially if Jacksonville beats them and goes up 2-0, then they have the tiebreaker on them in case it comes down to top seeds later in the conference at the end of the season. So I expect Kansas City to bounce back. Chris Jones is going to play. I expect him to have a couple sacks and to make the defense understand why he was brought back, and what they were missing without him. So but it's a very big game because, like I said, if they go 2-0 and 0-2. Jacksonville and Kansas City, like that could be a really long-term thing that's going to hurt Kansas City trying to catch up in the back end.
Especially since they would have just lost the head-to-head. So if they did come down to a tiebreaker, they're already losing in head-to-head matchup. So it's going to be tough. On King of Spreads, I did take Kansas City. I believe the spread was 3 or 3.5.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Kansas City covers. I'm going to say they win because it's going to be more of a shootout. These guys are, Jacksonville has an okay defense, and Chiefs are okay if Chris Jones is especially up to par. As long as Travis Kelce is somewhat healthy, I'm going to say like a 35-28. I'll keep it at only touchdowns.
For some reason, I just think Jacksonville's going to shock the world, and I think they're going to do it 28-17.
Ooh, double-digit win. Okay.
It's their home opener. They want to know. There's a lot of excitement. I just feel like Peterson's going to have them ready from the coaching standpoint, and they're gonna do something that nobody's expecting them to do.
It would definitely be a shakeup from the way we definitely thought, because we both have Kansas City as the top seed in the AFC. So
Yep.
we're going to be a little behind on that prediction. Let's move
Yeah,
on,
but
though.
we
Go
still
ahead.
both have Jacksonville winning the division, make the playoffs. So I'll feel good about that.
Very true. Very true. Moving on, though, to the other two games. I've picked Baltimore, Cincy. I'm super curious. Well, one, I really hope that they give Gus Edwards the ball, because that's who I told my wife to pick up after the Dobbins injury.
Yeah.
But curious to see how they do on the road. They opened against Houston and looked good, but I guess is all we could
Yeah.
say. They were a 10-point freaking favorites. So I'm how good is Baltimore? And then did Cincy just have a bad week, or is this a terrible sign of things to come? So hopefully Joe Burrow and company get their ass on track, because I have them winning that division. I know you don't, so you're probably thinking that the Ravens will take it. But yeah, I'm saying Cincy squeaks one out. I'm going like another like 21-17.
Oh, okay. And another one, it's a division opponent. And then if one starts 2-0 and over 2 on the other, that's a huge 3-game gap already after 2 weeks, essentially.
Yeah.
That's not where you want to be if you're Cincinnati.
No.
And the other
So
game
who you taking? Who you taking?
It's at Cincinnati. I think they're going to bounce back, even though I have Baltimore winning the division ultimately. I think Cincinnati will win. I think they'll score a lot. It'll probably be like 30-24.
Okay. I like that score. I think that. Like you were saying, though, the other one, San Fran, LA. What you think?
Yeah, it's a big game. I think a lot of people assumed, myself included, that the Rams were not going to be very good and they were going to lose to Seattle last week and then be 0-2 right off the bat here to San Francisco.
I said L back to back when you were asking me the other day.
Exactly. So for them to take that win last week and have some confidence, it's their home opener. Although the Niners, I believe, have beaten them 9 out of the last 10 matchups, but the one loss was the NFC title game where the Rams went to the Super Bowl. But still, I think Shanahan has this crazy offense, and McVay, even though they know each other really well, Shanahan tends to do really well against McVay.
Yes.
So, and it's regular season, I just feel like the Niners are so much better that they're ultimately going to win. But I think it'll be close early. I think it'll be something where they'll pull away late third, early fourth.
Defense gets tired.
They'll finally get some separation. And the offensive line for the Rams was really good last week, but that wasn't going against this Niner defense. This Niner defense is different.
Facts. So you're saying that they're going to have the opposite start or opposite game of what they did in Pittsburgh, because they started hot in Pittsburgh. They went up like 20-something to nothing, like quick. I remember they had a graphic on the screen of total yardage at a certain point. It was San Francisco 199 and the Steelers had 1.
Oh, yeah. Not good.
So yeah, I agree. I think I think San Fran takes it. I think they're the better team, even though it is here in LA. Plenty of San Fran fans down here, and they're willing to drive. It's just a drive down. It's not even. I mean, you saw when they were playing that playoff game, there was a lot of red.
Part of that is when the Rams left for the 90s and late 90s and for 20 years, the Niners were still kind of on the back end of their run, and everybody in SoCal decided to be Niners fans instead. So
unless they were Raiders fans.
Yeah, so for 20 years, all those people were Niner fans, and now the Rams are back, and all those fans have not changed the side. So it's hard to get more Rams fans than Niner fans in that stadium when they're here. So I anticipate a 50-50 at best, but I think the Niners come in and take care of business, ultimately like 30-14.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, 33 to like 23.
Okay, that's pretty good.
At double digits. I'm with. Yeah, because I think that there's a lot of new pieces, and Cam Akers had a really bad game 1. Sean McVay does know how to scheme, even though Kyle Shanahan does too. So I'm gonna give Sean a little bit of props, especially since everyone's healthy besides Kupp.
Yeah, true. Yeah, Kupp is. It sounds like Kupp is running at full strength now at practice by himself. So by week 5, he sounds like he's on track to be back.
He should be ready. I agree. Keeping it with football, but moving out of professional football, we have to talk about our favorite.
Have to.
Okay, maybe not our favorite team, but definitely our favorite team right now to talk about. Freaking Buffaloes, baby. Dion, back in the news again. What did he do this time? Oh, well, actually, nothing.
No, he didn't do anything. He just minded his business, doing his thing, and now you got Colorado State coach, which we talked about the fact that you're even saying anything and bringing attention to yourself.
Thank you.
You were already going to be beat so bad, and now that you've, as Dion likes to say, made it personal. So, I mean, I just don't understand poking the bear. What is the point of that?
And that's exactly what his son, not Shador, but his other son said. Why do people insist on giving this material? Why keep poking the bear?
Yeah.
What the Colorado State coach said was, when I talk to grown-ups, I take my hat and my glasses off. That's what my mother taught me. In regards to Dion rocking his shades and his baseball cap, I don't think Dion looks unprofessional. He carries himself very properly. He speaks well. So I don't understand. One, to your point, why adding fuel to the fire, but why make a comment even at all? Who cares? The guy wears sunglasses. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah, and that's the point. Like, if he's talking about, I take off my hat and my sunglasses. The picture we have right here, he's wearing a visor. So
I mean, it's on field. He says when he talks to grown-ups.
Yeah, I know. Right. He's not talking to an adult, but he looks exactly the same as what Dion. Except Dion's got sunglasses on. It's the only difference. Well, who cares? He's in coaching attire. Otherwise, what the hell matters what accessories he has on?
Thank you. And Dion looks freaking awesome, by the way.
All the time.
Okay.
So he doesn't go outside not looking awesome.
Yeah, you look
He's
like
one
a
of
bum.
those people.
Okay. Look at Dion is stop. Just stop it. Get some help.
Like even Pat McAfee down here looks better.
Dude, he looking fly. But that's so to your point, that's the coolest part though, is that like people ran with it. Two things happened. One, you can see here, he went to the show. What was this? Oh, First Take. Went on First Take and brought everybody some shades. Everybody's rocking it. Pat McAfee looking fly, rocking them. It's only, again, nobody is with you on this one, dude. Leave him alone. Yeah. The second thing they did, I think you saw it, was they had the equipment team come into one of the big meeting rooms and they gave every single player a pair of sunglasses. I hope there's a prop bet out on, does everybody roll out of the tunnel with these shades on? Because I'm betting yes.
Yeah, they probably will be. Don't be.
I hope they're wearing hats too.
Don't be shocked if all the student section is wearing big sunglasses. Don't be shocked if they're holding up a big sign that is just big sunglasses. Like it's going to be all out now. You poke the bear, like you said, man.
And what a dumb thing to poke at. Why are you wearing sunglasses and a hat? Why not?
Trying not to get skin cancer while his other coaching, man. He's wearing a hat.
That's what I'm saying. Jeez, bro. But I mean, Dion, dude, keep doing you, man. You know, you don't pay attention to the haters, obviously. That's what I'm learning from you, man. Don't pay attention to the haters. Just keep doing your thing.
Yeah, and again, he didn't poke or ask or start any of this. This is just some unprovoked thing that this coach decided to bring up and talk about. Like, it wasn't like they were talking about Colorado State and bagging on them about certain things, the way they do things. Mm-hmm. Dion wasn't talking about them at all. So the fact that this coach did it just is dumb because now he's got the Colorado team and everybody just more hyped up and ready to
go. Speaking of First Take, Shannon Sharp on his own podcast, Club Shay Shay, he interviewed. He was interviewing. Shoot, who the heck was he interviewing? Dang it, now I forget. But basically, he was telling them that if he had heard this, it was Chad Johnson. He was having a interview with Chad Ochocinco Johnson, whichever one he goes by, I forgot. He was interviewing him. He said, "You know what I would do if I was Prime? I'm hanging 100 on him." I was like, "Why not?" And you can even say, because a lot of college football, these rankings, right? Okay, you beat the team, but how did you beat the team? Yep. How much did you beat them by? Well, 100.
Dude, that would be insane if they scored 100 points. My God.
Triple digits, hanging them on him. Shador, 8 touchdowns. You know what I mean? Travis Hunter, 2 picks, one of them for a touchdown. Like, dude, it's just, I don't know. I'm going for him. I'm rooting for him. I'm definitely rooting for him.
That'd be cool if they did it. That's a lot of pressure and asking for them to do that.
Yeah, well, luckily it wasn't Prime because obviously he's not an idiot. He's not saying that's what Shannon would do. I was the bystander, and I give him props for it.
Heck yeah.
So. Well, before we wrap up this one, we have one of my favorite segments. We're going with This Week in Sports History. This Week in Sports History. So this week in sports history, We have 2 again. I just can't stop it. I can't stop it.
Always.
You know, there's too many good ones, dude. And remember, dude, every time I want to pick 5, but I have to like narrow it down because each day has like a good one. So I got to narrow it down to my favorite 2 of the week. Got to keep the segment normal. On September 11th, 1985, this was obviously before the September 11th, Pete Rose of the Cincinnati Reds becomes the all-time hit leader with 4,192nd hit. He breaks Ty Cobb's record. He lined a 2-1 pitch off of the Padres pitcher, Eric Show. He hit a single to left field. It is the 57th anniversary of Ty Cobb's last game in the majors. What are the odds?
Wow. That is kind of
Right?
weird.
Kind of a weird time to also do it. So, yeah, it's kind of odd. Oh, obviously because the season was maybe at a different time or shorter. So this was the end. September would be the end. Obviously, we've maybe kind of gotten more. But yeah, I thought was crazy.
Wow,
And
yeah,
probably
that
one that
makes
won't be
sense. They
broken.
played 154 games back then. They didn't have spring training and stuff. They probably started like earlier, so that makes sense. The earlier time in the time frame, but man, 4,192 hits. That's a lot. Whoa.
It's a lot of contact, man. It's a lot of contact. Second one we have, September 14th, 2003. Keeping it with football. I was just so freaking hyped about talking about football. I had to find a football one. Jamal Lewis of the Baltimore Ravens rushes for an NFL record 295 yards on 30 carries in a 33-13 win over the Browns. 5 yards at 300. Dang it, bro. He couldn't get 5 more yards to hit that 3 mark.
Right? Jeez.
Ugh.
And you know what though? That's crazy because 33-13. It wasn't like they were in a back and forth game where they had no choice. Like the game was in hand, so they were just able to just. All right, man. Well, we're just trying to run the clock out. Keep going.
They just couldn't stop him. I mean, if they can't stop you, don't stop yourself.
They just keep running. Just like Forrest Gump. I could not stop running.
Jenny. That's a good movie, man. I actually haven't seen that movie in a minute.
It's been a long
So many
time.
good life lessons. But yeah, I mean, other than that, dude, that was another good one. Getting into the heart of the NFL season, I like it. Basketball talk is creeping up because I think we're like just over or just under 40 days until the first game. A lot of exciting stuff. Hockey's creeping up around the corner, so a lot of stuff coming up.
I believe training camps and media days started this week for some of the NHL teams. We have our first preseason game I'm working on the 24th. That's right around the corner. So,
Oh, it's my dad's birthday.
oh, nice. So we'll be celebrating while working a Ducks game for you guys if you
Thanks.
want to join us. But yeah, that's right around the corner. Like you said, basketball as well as camp starts about the same time, and then before you know it, we'll be in October for October baseball for the Fall Classic, and
Yes.
we'll have way too much
That's
to
the
talk about.
best
These
time.
episodes are going to go from an hour 10 to an hour 45 real fast.
Yeah, maybe. But hey, I hope everybody out there is enjoying it because I know that I am. So
Yeah, I am.
thank
too,
y'all
man.
for watching.
Absolutely. Remember to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube by searching Our View from the Bench.
Don't forget to also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at OurViewFTB. And then anything you got going on this weekend?
Just working tomorrow, and then that number event change with Mason McTavish on Sunday.
Oh.
He's changing his number from his rookie number to 23, and then they're going to have Alex Killorn,
Jordan.
who just signed, and Gudis as well, who Killorn's actually a 2-time Stanley Cup champ. So I'm actually kind of excited to be there and like see him for the meet and greet. I'm like, oh shit, you got your ring.
Nice. You guys gonna like hang out and stuff afterwards?
I mean, I'll try. I'll see what I can do.
Yeah. Might
But what
swing
about
something.
you, man? Anything going on this weekend?
It's my friend Andrew's birthday today. Happy birthday, Andrew. Shout out.
Nice.
So probably tomorrow we're going to go and hang out. I think it's also Celeste's birthday today. Shout out to Celeste. I also think we're going to maybe like dinner or something tomorrow. And then Sunday is football Sunday. And Rocky actually has all the Sundays in September off. So we get to watch
Oh.
football together for September.
Nice.
So, only a couple more weeks left, but I'll take it.
Well, you know what? I don't have fantasy games against either of you this week, so good luck to you both in fantasy as
Oh,
well.
thank you very much. Thank you. And you as well. Other than that, though, thank you for seeing things from our view from the bench. I'm Brendan.
And I'm Corey. Like we always say, enjoy the sports until we talk again.
Peace.